Wife found out I was taking Viagra behind her back and threatened to kill me and much more. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. The past 2 weeks have been the worst time of my life and I will get into as much as I can. Gonna be a long one with lots of toxicity. Little background. I've been married to my wife for 2.5 months and we dated for 1.5 years prior to that. She's a sweet, loving, caring and fun person when she wants to be, but when she's not, she's very hard to deal with. She has a bad temper, she admits, and the smallest thing can set her off to the point where she will say anything that comes to her mind. I've told her she's verbally abusive. We've had a lot of arguments in the past where she will get angry at me for the slightest thing. I ignored a lot of red flags and justified her bad behavior towards me. Dumb, I know. I thought it was her living in that toxic household that caused her to be unhappy, stressed and angry. Boy, was I wrong. Every week in our marriage we've had issues and she's gotten extremely angry in the process to the point where she's screaming at me, cursing, slamming doors, kicking boxes, kicking garbage cans. She says that I grew up squeaky clean and can't handle people getting angry. It was like one issue every week where I thought her reaction was disproportionate to the actual problem. Few issues below. I didn't confront the weird neighbor about why he stares at her and acts awkward outside. Found out he has a mental disorder. I told her that I wanted to stay at my current job for a while since it seems stable, coming off a 5-month layoff, when I initially told her that this job would be something to keep for a few months. Dropped her sweater by accident on the street when it was raining, told her we could wash it. Visited my aunt's house, who she doesn't like, for 2 hours, while my wife was out watching a movie with her friend. We've had intimacy problems earlier this year when we first started having intimate. I felt anxiety and it would keep me from staying hard sometimes. The first few times she questioned why it happens and I told her I felt nervous and that it was in my head. After the 3rd or 4th time it happened, she completely went off on me and said very disrespectful things. Yes, another ignored red flag, regarding that to the point where I felt shameful and I couldn't risk that happening to me anymore. I also felt ashamed to talk to her about trying Viagra because of how she reacted to the whole situation. I ended up getting a script online and started taking it before intimate. I stopped taking it once we got married and I felt fully comfortable again with intimate. I was eventually going to come clean in the future. October 24th, Viagra incident. I was leaving work and she was home. She was looking for a nail cutter and she looked in my toiletry bag only to find my Viagra bottle. This caused her to get super angry. I can understand why she would feel upset, and she started accusing me of cheating over text. The bottle also had medicine written on it in girly handwriting, but if you read the label you would see that they ran out of space, so they put on a new label and wrote it by hand. I tried to explain to her over text the reason why I had that and that I was definitely not cheating. I told her we could go to the pharmacy so she can see that they printed that label. On my way home she tells me things like, "Don't come home, don't show your face to me, I will push you down the stairs, I am going to kill you today x3, you're going to die tonight, you other girls behind my back." I told her I wasn't coming home and to meet me down the street so we can go to the pharmacy. She comes storming out of the house and started cursing at me and demanded to see my phone. I gave it to her and she ran off to the end of the street for about 10 minutes looking through my phone. I remained calm. She found messages of me talking to one of my friends about our most recent issue. She also found a chat thread with my ex buried deep in my FB Messenger from 3 years ago, which I don't use anymore. She comes storming back and pushes me and punches me in the chest asking who is Triple X. Why are you talking about me? When she started walking away I asked for my phone and she came to me and punched me a few times around torso. At this point I didn't feel safe, even though she's smaller than me. We get in the car and I start driving to the pharmacy while she's screaming/cursing at me and grabbing me by my jacket collar. We get to the pharmacy and they printed out the label that clearly says medicine at the end, but now she's still convinced that I cheated on her. Spent about 20 minutes in the pharmacy lot while she continues to disrespect me, calling me names and cursing at me the worst things possible. I sat on the trunk of my car and she came to push me off and she actually kicked my leg a few times. She asked me to take her home and I said okay I will, but let me hold my phone. She also had my car keys which I had to take from her. She refused and started walking towards our apartment. I waited thinking she was going to return, but she never did. I decided to drive towards the apartment, but her car wasn't there. I didn't feel safe to go back home after all this, so I went to the nearest McDonald's, fired up my work laptop and got in contact with my brother over Instagram. I told him I didn't feel safe because my wife said she wanted to kill me, So he helped me get in contact with one of my friends who let me stay at his place for the night. I ended up telling my friend what happened today and he sided with me and told me to find an exit plan. I've spoken to him about problems in the past that we had as well, and I briefly mentioned without detail the issues we had after marriage. He always told me that I was in an unhealthy relationship from day one and kept it real with me. October 25th. I came home the next day with the intention of leaving. I told her she had to leave the apartment, but she begged me to let her stay and that everything she did was wrong and she regretted all of it. She admitted she has anger, control, and abuse issues and she signed up for therapy. She has always apologized for her behaviors in the past, but she never actually did anything to improve, until now. She said she would never put her hands on me again. I justified everything in my head and just said okay, let's try to move forward. She also said she dropped my phone and the screen was getting repaired at the shop. In the meantime, my friend and my brother were texting me asking if I was okay and they were giving me advice/making jokes about how I should leave the relationship, how I should sleep with one eye open, how I should tell her to leave the apartment, how she's never gonna respect me. My bro said it's not a coincidence that the phone broke while she was angry. I got my phone back the following day and read/reacted to some of these messages. I told them that we talked and I'm trying to still think about everything and that leaving wasn't out of the question going forward. My wife asked me what I told my friends/bro and I said I told them I felt unsafe at the apartment that night, but I didn't tell her that I told my friend more details. I didn't tell my brother much besides the phone thing and that I didn't feel safe. October 30th. My wife and I were driving back from her parents' home and she randomly had the urge to go through my phone, because she still doesn't trust me at this point. She ended up opening Instagram and saw all the messages between my friend, my bro, and I. She flipped out and asked me to stop the car. She got out and started crying and screaming about why they were saying such vile things, why I told them everything, etc. She said I was laughing at their comments saying I should leave, how I wasn't stopping them from saying such things. She said she doesn't want anything to do with them and that she doesn't trust anyone. This part was totally on me. While the advice was valid from my close people, those were only meant for me to see. I didn't think that she would go digging into my phone for more things after we dropped what happened. I felt super bad that I betrayed my wife and let my friends say certain things. I gave them the space to say it because I opened up the floor on what happened. Eventually she calmed down and we went home. I spoke to my friend/bro a few days later and they felt truly shitty about saying those things and they both wanted to apologize. They apologized individually a few days later, but my wife says it wasn't good enough and she is still hurting and reminds me every day that I am not a good person and neither are the closest people to me. She's been calling them names and cursing at them for about a week now after their apology. November 9th, latest. My wife was going on about my friend/brother/situation again for the second straight day. While I try to give her comfort, she says it's not good enough. I came home from work last night and tried to give her a hug, but she said I didn't care about her. She asked me for my phone because she still doesn't trust that I'm not talking to other girls. She went through my call logs, emails, texts, IGDMS and contact list. She found my ex's contact in my phone and she got furious. She started pushing me in the kitchen and pulling me by my shirt asking why I'm a liar. Eventually she got off me and went back to looking through my phone. She typed my ex's name into Instagram and found messages where her name was mentioned. These messages are from about a year ago in group chats between two of my close friends that I trust. Within various topics, my ex's name was mentioned in 2021/2022 and I made a comment about how things could have been different if she was the same religion, my ex, back in 2022. I can understand how that's a disrespectful thing to say while I'm dating someone else. After reading a few messages, she became furious and started pushing me against the wall, grabbing my collar and pulling it, scratched my neck. She also grabbed my hair at one point. I restrained her so she couldn't harm me any further. This went on for about 10 minutes. I was heated because she's reacted exactly in the way she told me she wasn't going to. She told me this marriage was a mistake and I said the same. She asked me if I wanted a divorce and I said yes. She called her mom and told me to tell her what I just said. Her mom ended up coming to our apartment. I told her briefly what was going on in our history. I said I know I've done some things wrong, but how can I continue with someone that treats me like this? She calls me bastard, son of a bitch, stupid ass man, skinny ass bitch, tells me to find another wife, says I don't deserve her, tells me I don't do anything for her. My wrongdoings don't deserve this sort of punishment from someone that loves me supposedly. Her mom kept saying every marriage has problems and arguments and to not give up on it so easily. My wife was super upset last night and today about how I can say those things about my ex. I will admit that I did do a lot of things wrong in the last 2 weeks. My friends/bros/ I did betray her and she has the right to not trust me because I was taking those pills behind her back. But I don't think I deserve this sort of behavior from my wife. My main question is, am I giving her a pass for this because I feel like I did a lot of things wrong that has made her angry? Why do I feel so bad about the wrong that I did, but shoving aside what she's done to me? Thanks for reading if you've made it this far. I truly feel like an idiot for ignoring so many red flags in 2 years. Comment? Bro, from what you posted, you are married to a psycho, and you need to get away from her first. Then see an attorney and get the divorce process started. Your wife is simply unhinged and needs to be under professional care for her mental health. Also, even if her mental health was cared for, chances are high that she is still an abuser. Abusers don't abuse because their childhood was hard or they are stressed at work. Those are all excuses. Abusers abuse because they are abusers. You have to document things. Text messages, emails, voicemails, etc. Make sure you talk to her via text and email. Make sure you document things. Keep a journal, although this isn't the best idea if you don't have other evidence to back it up. Don't leave me. I signed up for therapy. I am so sorry. And then she proceeds to verbally and physically assault you. If she didn't want to look like an abuser and in a hole to your friend and brother, then she should stop being an abuser in a hole, not punish you for talking about her unacceptable behavior. You are being abused. You even think that you are responsible for her abusing you by confiding in family. She will never change. You need to leave. I repeat, none of this is okay. She is an abuser. Let's say you are God, and a benevolent one, or a kind and caring Sims player. Would you place a character in the same house as your abusive, violent wife? Wouldn't you want your little Sim to be happy? Leave. And have a safe house you stay at where she can't find you. Do not spend another night with her. You are being abused. And leaving will be the most dangerous time. She sounds like the female version of my ex-husband, BPD. He stalked me for almost a year and it was terrifying. The only reason I survived was my parents hiding me and my kids and the fact he was convicted and sent to jail for stalking and terroristic threats. I'm still dealing with the trauma and PTSD over 7 years later. You have to get out of there. Full stop. There is no fixing this. No way whatsoever. You are not safe, either physically or emotionally. The thing you said about the ex would have been disrespectful if you'd said it to your wife, but you didn't. You're allowed to have conversations about your life with other people. It's none of her business. Seriously? Please leave.